Greetings, my dear brothers and sisters in Christ and people of the world. Welcome to Obey the Word Ministry YouTube channel. Today, we're going to talk about whether President Trump is a racist or not. Today, we're going to hear testimony from President Trump himself. We're going to hear testimony from President Trump's wife. We're going to hear testimony from Martin Luther King's niece. We're going to hear other testimony from people who's worked for him and known him for many years, including one person who's a Democrat and has known him for at least 40 years. Also, we're going to take a look at some of his actions to see whether his actions show racist characteristics or if he actually does things that support and help the African American community. So, let's dig right into it.
Here's my question. I asked you last time, I said, and some people were shocked, if you were racist. You knew why I was asking you that. Are you racist?
I am the least racist person that you have ever met. I am the least racist person.
Are you bigoted in any way?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Islam.
If I'm being honest, I have heard other people say the same thing, that they feel like your speech had racial overtones to it. So, are you racist? I just want to ask you.
I am not. I don't have a racist bone in my body. And you can speak to a lot of people that know me very well. I have not got a racist bone in my body, and I think you know that too. The fact that I want a strong border, and the fact that I don't want illegal immigrants coming and pouring into, not just coming, pouring into this country, that doesn't make me racist. Thank you very much. My fellow Americans, my first and highest duty as president is to defend our great country and the American people. I swore an oath to uphold the laws of our nation, and that is exactly what I will do. All Americans were rightly sickened and revolted by the brutal death of George Floyd. My administration is fully committed that for George and his family, justice will be served. He will not have died in vain. I want to express our nation's deepest condolences and most heartfelt sympathies to the family of George Floyd. A terrible event, terrible, terrible thing that happened. I've asked that the Department of Justice expedite the federal investigation into his death and do it immediately, do it as quickly as absolutely possible. It's a local situation, but we're also making it into a federal situation, and it's a terrible thing. We all saw what we saw, and it's very hard to even conceive of anything other than what we did see. It should never happen, should never be allowed to happen, a thing like that. Thank you very much. I want to thank Secretary Carson, along with Isaac Newton Ferris, Jr., and the many distinguished guests for joining us here today. It's a great honor. Earlier this week, I had the tremendous privilege to join Isaac and Alveda to sign into law legislation redesignating the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Site to the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historic Park. The new law expands the area protected, and historic sites for the future generations of Americans are becoming so important, and this is a great honor for us and a great honor to Dr. King. Today we gather in the White House to honor the memory of a great American hero, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On January 15th, 1929, Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia. He would go on to change the course of human history. As a young man, Dr. King decided to follow the calling of his father and grandfather to become a Christian pastor. He would later write that it was quite easy for me to think of a God of love, mainly because I grew up in a family where love was central. That is what Reverend King preached all of his life: love. Love for each other, for neighbors, and for our fellow Americans. Dr. King's faith and his love for humanity led him and so many other heroes to courageously stand up for civil rights of African Americans. Through his bravery and sacrifice, Dr. King opened the eyes and lifted the conscience of our nation. He stirred the hearts of our people to recognize the dignity written in every human soul. Today we celebrate Dr. King for standing up for the self-evident truth Americans hold so dear, that no matter what the color of our skin or the place of our birth, we are all created equal by God. This April, we will mark a half-century since Reverend King was so cruelly taken from us by an assassin's bullet. But while Dr. King is no longer with us, his words and his vision only grow stronger through time. Today we mourn his loss, we celebrate his legacy, and we pledge to fight for his dream of equality, freedom, justice, and peace. I will now sign the proclamation making January 15th, 2018, the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday, and encourage all Americans to observe this day with acts of civic work and community service in honor of Dr. King's extraordinary life, and it was extraordinary indeed, and his great legacy. Thank you. God bless you all, and God bless America. After years and years of wage stagnation, we are finally seeing rising wages. Unemployment claims have hit a 45-year low. And something I'm very proud of, African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded.
You're almost home, bro. You're almost here.
Another painful call for Vida Ajamu with brother Robert Shipp, in prison 25 years, sentenced to life after a drug conviction, no chance for parole.
I love you too. See you soon.
Ajamu is an advocate for her brother and thousands of federal prisoners who could see sentences reduced with the law President Trump signed today. Non-violent offenders sentenced under tough guidelines that critics say send too many people to prison for too long.
President Trump today signed a sweeping criminal justice overhaul, which had rare bipartisan support. It shortens some drug sentences and expands rehabilitation programs for prisoners. As Jim Axelrod reports, it is all about second chances.
After 6.5 years in federal prison for selling drugs, Rosa Concha now helps recently released felons transition.
Don't get discouraged. You know, one interview might not go well, but we'll keep pushing.
At the Exodus Transitional Community in New York City, helping launch post-prison lives with job searches and counseling.
What we do is keep people from going back to prison.
What is our resume for?
Julio Medina runs the agency.
We cannot continue to characterize people as Americans by the worst moment of their lives.
But based on the events that took place over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia, I would like to provide the nation with an update on the ongoing federal response to the horrific attack and violence that was witnessed by everyone. I just met with FBI Director Christopher Wray and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The Department of Justice has opened a civil rights investigation into the deadly car attack that killed one innocent American and wounded 20 others. To anyone who acted criminally in this weekend's racist violence, you will be held fully accountable. Justice will be delivered. As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. And as I have said many times before, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag. And we are all made by the same Almighty God. We must rediscover the bonds of love and loyalty that bring us together as Americans. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
Joining us now with her reaction, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King and Fox News contributor Velva King. Nice to see you, ma'am. As always, good morning. Thank you. Your uncle fought real racism at home, certainly, and throughout much of this country, and made real change. What is it when everything is racist, when that is the word now that everybody paints everything with that they don't like? Does nothing become racist? Does it in some way sort of cheapen what your uncle fought so much to defend against and to stop?
Well, I believe Rachel just put it best. And by the way, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Fox and friends, thank you for being on it with real news and not fake news. So to answer your question, absolutely. Racism is just a word that's being bandied and thrown about and thrown at the president, in my opinion, unjustly. President Trump is not a racist. I've been with the president recently quite a bit, and when he signed the legislation making the historic site, Martin Luther King site in Atlanta, Georgia, a national park, it was introduced by Congressman John Lewis, and that, believe it or not, that's one thing the two of them did together. It took two to do it, and I'm so glad the president has done it. But what is so outrageous, to call a man a racist who continues to acknowledge the significant work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my uncle, in a positive way. And he puts his money where his mouth is.
Now, a Democrat who's known Donald Trump for more than 4 decades exposes what the left is trying to do with their absurd charges of racism against the president. Andy Stein joins us from New York, where he used to serve as city council president. Andy, it's great to see you. Donald Trump's a racist. Donald Trump's, that's all we hear from the left. Donald Trump's a racist. You know him for 40-plus years. Tell us.
I know him since 1973, Laura, and it's ridiculous. If it wasn't so serious, it would be laughable. This guy doesn't have an ounce of racism in him. He judges.
When you hear, people saying he's racist, hearing him saying he's anti-immigrant, what do you think?
He's not. He's not racist. He's not anti-immigrant. He wants to keep America safe.
It's not just that Donald Trump is saying and doing racist things. He's also implementing policies that are hurting and impacting negatively communities of color.
I don't think Donald Trump is doing an awful lot to appeal to African-American voters.
All the policy that he's put forward has been anti-people of color.
Now, we hear those lines all the time, but here are the facts. Since President Trump took office, black unemployment has hit an historic low and currently sits at about 6.7%. And by the way, he's not satisfied with that. He wants it a lot lower, but still pretty great. The number of African Americans employed is up more than 4%. And the most stunning of all, African American wages, this is my favorite, are up more than 9%. That race relations have deteriorated almost under this president. That's the thought. And that Obama was the great racial healer. Yet, in a new study by a pair of sociologists at UPenn, this is not some conservative outlet, they found that, quote, anti-black prejudice declined by a statistically insignificant degree between 2012 and 2016. But then after 2016, it took a sharp dive. There was also a general fall in anti-Hispanic prejudice, too. Be happy about together. Happened at the White House, I think it was last month, and it was an event commemorating the First Step Act. Let's watch.
And I really thank you for signing that bill. When y'all passed this, I could have fell through the floor.
I'm an example of a woman who has been given a second chance in life.
And it's an experience that I never forget.
2 months ago, I was in a prison cell, and I'm in the White House. Let's continue to make America great again.
Idea of race relations under Obama, which I almost fell out of my chair in the CNN story that came out in October of 2016. They got worse. 54% of Americans said they got worse. Only 16% said they got better. This was at the end of the Obama administration. So as Cornel West said, you had Ferguson, you had Freddie Gray in Baltimore, you had all this stuff bursting out on the streets of America with the first African-American president in the White House, and that healing didn't seem to take place.
Right. Look, at that point, I was on the left. So when Barack Obama first went into office, I was a liberal, and I changed my mind due to exactly what you're saying. He drove this nation apart. President Trump is bringing this nation together because what he is talking about is patriotism. Patriotism knows no sex, it knows no color, it knows no creed. The liberal media can ignore all the work that he's doing in Black America all they want. Every statistic in the world shows you right now that Black support for Donald Trump has doubled, and that is meaningful. And I'm telling you that by 2020, he is going to be the first president to crack the Black vote to the detriment of the Democrats.
Hey.
Mr. King, what do you say to people who think that Donald Trump has been very divisive and bad for minorities?
That is a big crutch because we're already divided. We already are working against freedom, justice, and equality and togetherness. And so Donald Trump is exposing that. He didn't establish this. It's already there. This is the worst situation we've been in hundreds of years now. You know what I mean? So Donald Trump is trying to bring somebody together, but he wants to bring you not on your knees as a slave. He wants to bring you as a man or a woman where you can have equalness. And that.
So this weekend, wow, was it a big surprise when Evers' younger brother, civil rights activist Charles Evers, endorsed Donald Trump for president. I've got to ask you about, given the things that Donald Trump has said, he's wavered on denouncing the KKK and David Duke. He has offended some people with his use of the phrase, the blacks. Your support of him is raising a lot of eyebrows. Why did you decide to endorse Donald Trump?
First of all, my real reason, he's a businessman. And business, I think every elected official should be a business person because they can provide service for the people they serve.
So I'm curious if you think that the things that he has said, or in some people's minds not said, in not always denouncing David Duke, in not always denouncing the KKK, and saying he really didn't know about white segregationist, white supremacy groups, does that concern you at all? Does it at all smack for you of racism?
Not really, because let me tell you, most whites in this country have a problem with black folk, and you know that. But he happened to be the one to stand and speak up for it. We blacks have a problem with ourselves some. In Chicago last year, over 500 blacks were killed by blacks. In Mississippi, since January 1 this year, over 9 has been killed here by black. So, when they start talking about who cares about who, it doesn't matter. He's going to be president of the United States, and I hope that we can get to use him as the president of all of us, and not black folks or white folks.
But he did call those countries shithole countries. You can confirm that.
You can keep asking me all day long, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. Why don't you ask me, is he a racist?
That was my next question.
Okay, why don't you ask me?
Do you think that he is a racist?
Absolutely not. Let me tell you what. You could be dark as charcoal and lily white. It doesn't matter as long as you're nice to him. You could be the Pope and criticize him. It doesn't matter. He'll go after the Pope. You could be Putin and say nice things, and he'll like you. Here's what I found. He's a street fighter. It's not the color of your skin that matters. It's not the content of your character. It's whether or not you show him respect and like him.
Trump has been communicating that to the community. He's been speaking. It's not like we don't see Trump on the air every minute of every single day. Then why is he at 0% support from African Americans in Cleveland? Then why is he at 2% support of African Americans in Pennsylvania?
Anytime he says something that is remotely painted to be, could be interpreted as a racial comment, it is blasted all over the media because of the narrative that's being portrayed. Why in the world, as me as a black man from the South, I know what real racism is. I know what real division is. I'm married to a white woman named Tamara Burns. I got 6 beautiful brown mixed babies. I'm born, bred in the deep South. The Confederate flag just a couple of days ago was raised up in the state of South Carolina as a reminder of the 1 year of its removal that we had to fight for years to pull down. I know what real racism is, and it's not Donald Trump. That's not.
And Silk, welcome to Fox and Friends.
Rachel's been looking forward to this all morning.
I've been waiting for you from the beginning of the show. I love you, ladies. So what do you make of all that?
Okay, so I want to say this to those 3 lawmakers. You know, Trump is not a racist. He's a realist. And the only color he sees is green, and he wants you to have some of it. That's right. And what I don't understand about these lawmakers is why are they pushing this narrative? You know, there's an old saying, what you think you see in others is what's in you. That's right. Maybe they need to get the racism out of their own hearts towards this president so that we can move this country forward. That's
Quick final question. Trump, when you have him on the show, the minute the camera goes off, is it a different guy or is it the same guy?
Same guy.
Exact same.
Oh, yeah. How did I do? Was I good? I know I was good. You know, tell me I was good. His wife's great, too. Yeah. She's a great lady. He has great kids. There's a lot to be said for Donald Trump. Yeah, there's a lot, you know. He's a good guy. He is really a good guy. He's not a racist. Yeah. He's not. He plays to that crowd.
But he hasn't talked that way.
No.
Interesting.
Not at all.
Interesting. He's a
Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar tweeted this last night. You all should end this charade and accept that this racist president wants every black, brown person deported and Muslims banned. His immigration policies say this much. The president tweeted this morning, I don't believe the 4 congresswomen are capable of loving our country. They should apologize to America and Israel for their horrible, hateful things that they've said. They are destroying the Democrat Party, but are weak and insecure people who can never destroy our great nation. Ben Carson is the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and he joins me right now. And, Mr. Secretary, it's good to have you on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
What
Maria.
a fight. Oh, my goodness. So, look, you're an African-American successful business person. You're the Secretary of HUD. You work for President Trump. Is he racist?
He is not racist at all. You know, the first time I met him, it was before we got into politics, was down at Mar-a-Lago. And he and I were talking, and someone came up to him and said, Mr. Trump, Rod Stewart is here. And he said, yeah, but this is Ben Carson. You know, that's the kind of person he is. You know, he lived in New York. Jesse Jackson gave him an award for the incredible things that he had done in the African-American community. I have never seen anything that even resembles racism. And look at the policies that have been done. And look at the people who have been helped.
Oh, I know he's not a racist. I mean, I was convinced that first day from that first conversation. And the reason I was convinced was because he did not go overboard trying to convince me he was not a racist.
I don't see anything that he's a racist.
And I like the fact that he cares about this country. He loves this country. He does not hate blacks. He does not hate illegals. He just wants them to do it correctly and legally.
African-American supporters of President Trump came from as far as New York and Florida to show their support for a new initiative called Black Voters for Trump. They see in Trump a president who has lifted their fortunes with a strong economy and released many imprisoned African-Americans with a prison reform program.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and Mrs. Trump.
thank you very much. Wow, what a good group this is. This is the future. This is the future. That's true. The First Lady and I are thrilled to host so many friends and pastors and government leaders, and our stage is being filled up with a bunch of winners like you, because I know you for a long time, Bob. And I want to thank you very much. Special guy, special friend for a long time. To be at the White House to celebrate African American History Month. Do you like the White House, right? This is the place, right? You know that. We're also grateful to be joined by our wonderful Vice President and Second Lady, Mike and Karen Pence. Hi, Mike. Hi, Karen. Mike, come on over here. Come on over here. Get up here, Mike. Come on, Karen. What a job they do. Today, we are here to honor the extraordinary contributions of African Americans to every aspect of American life, history, and culture. From the earliest days of this nation, African American leaders, pioneers, and visionaries have uplifted and inspired our country in art, in science, literature, law, film, politics, business, and every arena of national life. The depth and glory of these contributions are beyond measure. You know it, I know it, and everybody knows it. We especially pay tribute to the African American heroes who have sacrificed in the name of freedom, equality, and dignity for all Americans. Thank you. Every citizen alive today and generations yet unborn are forever in debt of the brave souls who stared down injustice and championed the eternal cause of civil rights. We're joined for tonight's ceremony by many distinguished guests, including Surgeon General Jerome Adams. Where's Jerome? Jerome, get up here, Jerome. Come on, Jerome. Thank you very much. Hi, Jerome. Been a little while, huh? Thank you very much. Great job you're doing. I'd also like to thank all of the members of my cabinet who are in attendance. We have a lot of them here tonight, and I want to thank you very much for being here. You're doing a great job. You just take a look at our economy, stronger than it's ever been before. And by the way, as you've been hearing me say, African American unemployment is at an all-time low, historic low. The history of our country, it's never been better, so that's a great thing. Thank you all as well to the young African American activists who are here today. You are really and truly the leaders of the future. And get in there and go down. Since the beginning of our republic, African Americans have given their heart, their love, and their very lives to the pursuit. And you know this better than anybody. You have worked so hard. I guess when you get right down to it, we're all working very hard. But the pursuit of liberty and justice for all. During the Revolutionary War, African American soldiers fought at the Battle of Yorktown and helped our nation gain independence. In the next century, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, and countless others risked everything to end the evil of slavery and secure the sacred blessings of freedom. And here we are all together in the White House. This is a great thing, right? This is a great thing. And this is a very, very special place. A century later, Rosa Parks, Medgar Evers, and the immortal Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. challenged our nation to fulfill its founding promise that we are all created equal by God. In every moment of our history, African Americans have called our nation to greatness. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the birth of Jackie Robinson. How good was Jackie Robinson? How good was Jackie? As a baseball fan, Jackie was special. He had to be special because that was not an easy journey for Jackie. He was a special man. His courage on the field and off the field stands as an everlasting monument to the triumph of the human spirit. African-American scientists, artists, musicians, educators, faith leaders, and countless others have lifted our nation to absolutely incredible heights. Today, we thank God for all of the blessings the African-American community continues to give our nation, and we pledge our resolve to expand opportunity for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed.
Well, welcome back. That was quite a lot of good evidence that we got to review, and a lot of good testimony that we got to review. I would like to say that I understand regarding the prison reform that affects everyone, not just the African American community, but it also affects all different backgrounds of people: Caucasian, Hispanic, Latino, any and many different communities of people throughout our nation is affected by that. But based on my research and based on my understanding, the African American community is hit the hardest regarding that. And the prison reform has been an excellent thing for many of people. So I just wanted to clarify that. If a person would be to go and rob a store, and they held the clerk at gunpoint, and there were people in the store that saw them, that gave testimony to the police officers, and the video cameras in the store recorded the audio and video of them robbing that store, it would be an open and shut case to prove that that person robbed that store and held that person at gunpoint. All of this audio-video testimony should prove that President Trump is not in any way racist. He has many of people to testify on his behalf, both strangers and friends alike. His own actions of the things that he's done speaks for themselves. President Trump is not racist, and it's very unfair that some people call him racist when he is not. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you've learned something from it. And may God bless all of you in Jesus' name. Have a great day.